And we are live.
Ajá.
¿Cómo lo hacemos?
I guess
We
we
can
should
do
do it. We should do it in both languages, English and Spanish
yes,
también.
yeah.
We do
Claro,
English
hermano.
and Spanish. Auch
Ahí
ein bisschen Deutsch, wenn du willst.
que la gente vote.
Eso. Un poquito en español, un poquito en inglés.
Sí. We can start in English.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So thanks for accept my invitation.
No problem. I'll send you the invoice later.
Fuck.
Yeah, of course, dude. It's a pleasure.
No, it's great. Well, of course, you know I'm a big fan of yours, and no, it's great. I would like to start because I know you're very famous. A lot of people know about you, but maybe for the people who doesn't, it will be great if you can, make a little introduction about yourself.
So my name is Federico. This is my introduction all the time. My name is Federico Agreda Alvarez, professionally known as DJ Zardonic, and and I am I say that I am a drum and bass DJ and producer, even though some people don't agree. They are still trying to figure out what my genre is. So my thing has always been bringing some of that metal energy into rave music, electronic dance music. So a little bit of that industrial metal vibe into drum and bass. I've also done electro, glitch hop. I'm not a big fan of dubstep myself. Everybody knows that, but to each their own. Also have friends that do it. But these days, I'm pretty much doing anything and everything that I am able to within the scope of my skills. I'm also working as a producer, mixing, mastering engineer, remixer, regardless of someone's needs. Like I've done, I don't know, pop, country, death metal, anything you can think of. If I can make it sound good, it works.
Liquid drum and bass.
Liquid drum and bass as well. Yeah, I'm actually. Yeah, it's funny because I actually think most classic liquid drum and bass is great music. To me, good music is good music. It doesn't matter the genre, even in genres that I usually don't listen to, like, I don't know, reggaeton, for example. I think Calle 13 is, Residente, papa. To me, that dude is the Don. Doesn't matter. Obviously, I don't agree. Most people who don't speak Spanish don't really care much about the lyrics, but obviously we understand everything, and we do, and most of the time we know that the lyrics are absolute garbage, and I just no. To each their own. I mean, I still have friends who do it, so I respect what they do, but I still think the lyrics are garbage, and I wish they used their talent to do something different. But I'm not like on some sort of online fights against like, oh my god, why are you doing this? Like, I'm not. I don't care.
Sure. Yeah. No, for me, I don't know if it happened to you the same at the beginning when you were starting in electronic music, and you were saying that you came from, I don't know, Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
The people were expecting you to do something more like with a Latino vibe, like salsa.
They still tell me that I look like a reggaeton musician because of the bling bling and whatnot. Supposedly this is bling bling. I had no idea. I just wear it because I like it. So the thing is, the way I see it, it's more like, all of these guys, they started wearing all the stuff that metalheads used to wear,
Sure.
The leather jackets and the chains, that was heavy metal. That's Rob Halford, dude. That's where it all really comes from.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And the thing you can take us back to your beginning. You start with hardware. You start with what? You were a metal guy before doing electronic, or?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about my story is that I grew up with really conservative parents, so they were not exactly thrilled about the idea of me having a black metal band in Venezuela.
So conservative, you mean like religious, like
Not sure if religious is the right word, because they were not exactly going to church every Sunday, but metal is satanic music and it'll drive you crazy, and it'll, well,
okay,
it's true actually.
yeah,
But I mean, it didn't really cause as much harm as I think people in the 90s thought it would cause. And I think that
mm,
was the fascination with metal music. I think that's an aspect that we kind of lost, like Satan used to be something that people perceived as real, like there's a real threat in the music. Now it's just, everybody knows it's all a bunch of theatrical crap, so it doesn't
yeah,
have the same impact anymore. It's beautiful. Like, if you see what a Behemoth is doing, for example, you can still see the artistic aspect in it, but it doesn't really create this like grim
it's
atmosphere
not as
anymore.
scary anymore.
It's not scary anymore. Exactly. It's just people figured out that Satan was fake. Duh. Like that. There's no dude with the horns and the tail coming out of the bottoms of the earth, spitting. I don't know, spitting fire and
Sure.
impaling your ass because you are a sinner. Like, that doesn't happen.
So
But I
metal
think it
was
was
the
it was better when it was like that, because when people actually believe this,
mm,
this is much better than Big Brother actually watching you. It's
yeah,
just better when it's in your head, like, I won't do this because God will send me to hell. And then that's better. That kind of
yeah.
psychological fear that keeps people behaving, and it keeps everything cool. Now, well, people figured out this is all bullshit, and now we have this threat of an actual surveillance over us, which I'm not sure is
Yeah,
good anyways.
yeah, no, I totally agree. So
Yeah.
your first style of music was metal? You never listened other stuff before?
I mean, when I was a kid, it was like, I don't know.
Menudo?
No, no, I was never really into that. Like, no, I had really weird phases because none of it makes sense. Like, you would think like you start with some cheesy music and then go up to, but it was very random. Like, when I was a little kid, I'm talking 3 years old, 4 years old, I really enjoyed listening to classical music, like the Four Seasons by
Yeah,
Vivaldi. That was my jam when I was four. And then,
yeah,
as I grew a little older, I started getting into 90s popular electronic music, like a bunch of Spanish producers as well, techno producers, trance, all that, underground rave stuff from that era. But I had no idea about the world that I was getting myself into. I was just a kid listening to the stuff on the radio, and I thought, there's the beats are really interesting, and the bass and the synthesizers, all of the, electronic music used to be so synthesizer rich. These days, I'm not sure what's going on. Everyone is going on they're doing a very weird minimalistic sort of, like, I'm not a fan of that. I like the epic big stuff. um
and when you
uh
start to listen that kind of electronic music, what was the first, I don't know, thing that hit you, that catch your
I mean,
attention?
I had like this cassette compilations. We used to call in Venezuela, we used to call that stuff changa. So,
Okay,
I would buy cassettes called changa mix,
so
that
it
kind of
was
stuff.
like
Like,
rave music, like
yeah, artists like, I'm trying to remember. Man, I can't remember the artists
yeah,
actually.
no, but I understand, because sometimes there was just a compilation with many
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
many.
I
Oh,
remember the songs like "I know what I want and I want it now," that kind
yeah,
of stuff. And
yeah.
some earlier heavier stuff like Ramirez, División Barcelona, Paco
Mm.
Pil.
No, but
Esta
I
fiesta más
remember
sonido que vamos a
during
saco.
that during that time was like, I don't know if you remember To Unlimited or
Too Unlimited, for example, Too Unlimited, Lethal,
no, no,
Ramirez.
no, 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 no.
That to me, that was amazing. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, it's pretty heavy for that time.
yeah, yeah. It was almost. I remember, like, I would tell my friends, like, I was a huge fan, for example, of Ace of Base.
Yeah.
But people would always
Oh,
think,
don't you want?
yeah, but no, see, no, I was
No,
into the stuff they
you
had
were
that
like
wasn't
in the
popular.
black metal side of Ace of Base.
Yeah, well, not exactly black metal, but there's a song they have called "Young and Proud," for example, that it's pretty much industrial. If you listen to
Okay.
the synths and everything they did, it was pretty heavy for the time. But as with every band, you have a song that
Yeah.
makes you popular, and then you have the heavier stuff. Myself included. Like, I don't have platinum records or anything like that yet. Hopefully one day, I don't know. But I've also had songs like that remix I did for Semargo, the Credo Revolution remix is almost 10 million views, and
Mm.
people love it, and it's one of my. I mean, I like it, but it's a commercial heavy track, but it's commercial. It's not.
Yeah, you
It's
can
not.
feel the Two Unlimited vibes in that one.
Yeah, sort of. So my heavier stuff, the more interesting stuff, I think it's always like that. It's never the most popular. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is,
There is an
but
industrial band that I love. It KMFDM,
yep.
and
KMFDM, yeah, sure.
yeah, they always catch my attention because they were kind of heavy with
Hmm.
guitars, but he included a female vocal vocalist that was singing like that kind of music. For example, like To Unlimited, like stuff
Yep.
like that. So
Yeah.
they make a so then you
Yeah, that,
start to
that's
listen.
that's a huge influence for me as well. I mean, obviously, I was doing it within the drum and bass scene. So from the drum and bass scene, my first influences were like, I don't know, Counter Strike, for example.
Hmm.
You know, lords of drum and bass and metal. But before that, like this is a thing that a lot of people seem to forget. I mean, I've seen a couple kids that are trying this now and with
Hmm.
EDM and whatnot, and they think they are the new the kings of the scene, and I created this. Like, no, you didn't, because before you there was Counter Strike. Before Counter Strike there was Cell Dweller. Before Cell Dweller there was KMFDM, and before that there was Ministry. And if you want to push it even um, further back, you had bands like, I don't know, man, you could consider Pink Floyd to be some sort of proto electronic rock, because with the whole what they call psychedelic rock, like all these
Yeah.
synthesizers and weird effects, that was pretty much what set the pace for electronic rock.
Hmm.
And now you have a new movement. But I try to remember where we come from, because I really think it's unfair that so many people have put so much effort in paving the way for these new kids to come and just completely forget about who came first. And
Yeah.
I'm not a
But
fan of that.
sometimes they don't know. They don't know.
Yeah, well, they should.
They just don't know the
They
story.
should. They should, because I did my homework. I didn't just
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
out and
Of course.
say, "Oh, I created drum and bass and metal." Fuck that. No, it's stupid to even say it. Because
Sure.
it's just not true. I could claim it, but I don't claim things that are not true. It's not. It's just not
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah. Of course.
Yep.
So you were listening that. You were listening metal, and how you move from metal to drum and bass? How was the
Uh, I,
transition?
I guess it was pretty much. It's a mix of what was always there. As I said, I started with classical music, then electronic music, then some pop music. Like I think when I was 12, I was into the Backstreet Boys. I told you I had weird faces. I went from
Sure.
classical music to rave to Backstreet Boys, and then straight into black metal. It's a really
Why
weird
not?
transition. I think it was my brother who saved me from it. Like, I mean, not saved. I don't care. I think good music is good music, regardless of what happens. Um, just give me a second. I think I got somebody's ringing the bell. Um, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
So you can
yeah,
people can see we are actually live.
yeah. Hold on. Can you? I'm literally live on YouTube. This is my friend Mark.
Hey, what's up? What are you doing?
What's up?
I'm finishing this in around 45 minutes. If you want to come in 45 minutes,
Oh, you're sick.
cool.
See ya around.
All right, cheers.
Guess what?
All right, sorry about that.
So good.
Yeah. So, all right, back
So
in the
you were
game.
talking about Backstreet Boys.
Yeah. So, I was into a little bit of everything, and then I just switched gears back into black metal. It was my
Mm.
my brother, who, he said he had this duty to save me from commercial music, and then he started playing me like Pantera, Dayside, Dark Funeral, all this stuff.
Wow.
And I remember being really fucking scared of that music, and I loved that. I
They
was
say what
fascinating.
pretty scary. They
I
say.
mean, if
You mean
exactly.
the guy? His scarification is an inverted cross in their forehead. Is
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, these people were real,
yeah,
they lived, and they lived for their art. And to me, this was
yeah,
such a wonderful thing. It was a
yeah,
it was a thing of, there was a certain mystic vibe to it, which is kind of lost right now. I'm actually not a big fan of most of the metal bands that came out after 2010, all this metalcore stuff. I mean, I respect, as I said, everyone's, because these days, if you don't like something, everybody attacks you like, oh, why don't you like? I don't fucking like metalcore. I don't care what you think. If you like it, awesome. I have friends who have metalcore bands who are really successful, and I am super happy for them. And I hope they make so much money and marry beautiful women and have tons of kids, and pay for everything that they need from the money they make from playing metalcore. I really wish them that, but I fucking hate it. It's not. It's just nothing interesting in it anymore. It's not.
sure.
There's
It's
no raw vibes to it.
it's like they discover a formula, like a very heavy breakdown with a
Yeah.
very catchy chorus, melodic
Yeah.
chorus, and that's it.
What, blah, all that melodic stuff. I just feel it doesn't fit. I mean, it's funny. I might be shooting myself in the foot here, because I have probably remix bands that fall under that category. But as I said, I'm a very open person. If I
Sure,
have a legitimately good musician that asks me to do a remix, and you know I think the music's cool, I can do a cool remix with this. They have a budget, and it pays my rent. I'm doing something awesome that I can use for my sets. Great.
sure.
Maybe I would be happier remixing old school Norwegian black metal bands, but that doesn't work in the dance floor. So it's actually, most of the time, it's the metalcore bands coming to me to remix them. So it's
Sure.
it is what it is.
Yeah, no, no, that's better. I mean, that's different. It's different. It's different what the music that you like, that you listen, you personally, and the music
Yeah.
you can work with.
Yeah.
That's different. And
If I
especially
have,
when you make a remix because you make it your own.
yeah, I mean, if I think there's an element in a track that I can use and turn it into something that works for the dance floor, I will do it. I'm pretty much, sadly enough, actually, I find that this is especially difficult with the more extreme bands.
Mm.
I used to do a lot of bootleg remixes for black metal bands, and I love that. I enjoy them. Some of the bands liked them, some didn't. Fair enough. Some of them
Mm.
were very metal about it, because here I am talking about being real metal and old school and stuff, and I am a DJ. I have no fucking morals. But it is what it is. I did like this bootleg remix for Bathory,
Mm.
and everybody just fucking hated me for it. It's just like, why you cannot touch this music? Hands off black metal, you
Yeah.
you fucking DJ. You know what I'm
No, I
saying?
remember when
Yeah,
I started when I was young. I was just listening to metal all the time, and during that time, there was no space for keyboards. Was like you have to be true. Keyboards are for pussies, and
yeah.
I had a
Well, I
cousin
I
that that
did
that
I
was
did like I did like Dimmu Borgir and early Cradle of Filth, though, and that was
yeah,
very keyboard
yeah,
rich,
of
But
course,
I know what you're saying. Like, it wasn't
yeah,
like Mayhem, for example. Mayhem was about, I don't know, burning churches.
yes,
It's just, I don't agree with that, but fair enough. I do
yeah,
think that the church needed to be challenged. Maybe it was a little bit too much, but the church definitely needed to be challenged.
yes. No, it's an you have to understand the context of all that whole situation,
Yeah.
because they have their own culture, their own beliefs, and they lost everything, or all their mythology, because of the Catholic Church. So
Yeah, this was like I mean, I understand the historical standpoint, but I still think it's crap. I'm sorry, like
yeah, sure. No,
because the
I'm
thing
just
is,
trying.
if you think about it, that this is, I think I'm quoting
I'm
Abad
not
here from
justifying
Immortal.
anything.
Abad said something like, if we burn a church,
Yeah.
the government takes money from our taxes and builds it back up.
Yes.
So, I mean, and I also don't think, like,
No,
I don't know,
I
it's a
completely
bit
agree.
too extreme, I mean, to each their own. Maybe in the 1500s it would have been good if we had a more,
Yeah.
egalitarian society, and all the social justice warriors that say that, we need a space for Christians and Muslims, and for atheists and Satanists, and everybody should be together and happy and kissing and hugging, even though it makes no fucking sense at all. But fair enough. This is an utopian ideal that people there seems to be a trend in that, and I think that is amazing, because the world is big enough for everyone to be and believe whatever they want, anyways, without attacking each other.
Sure.
But sadly, that was not the case. Like, the church had too much power, and obviously they got away with doing this terrible things back then. But these days you don't really see, unless you have like fanatical cults or anything, you don't really.
Mm,
I haven't seen any churches. Well, I mean, there's like always those extremists, like the Ku Klux Klan, or
sure.
the terrorist, like, fundamentalist Muslims that have, that don't really represent the majority of the Christians or the Muslims. These are just people who are sick in the head, and they are
Yeah.
brainwashed, and they are fighting for what they believe they should be doing. And sadly, that means the death of a lot of people. So
Sure.
extremism is the problem. Extremism can have many faces: Christian, Muslim, atheist, left wing, right wing.
Yeah, of course.
There's good and bad people everywhere. You
Yeah.
have great conservative people, terrible conservative people, great communists, terrible communists, and
Mm.
this is it.
Yeah, of course. There is, it's in everything.
Mm.
But what I was saying, that during that time, I don't know what is your case, but I had a cousin that was a big fan of Depeche Mode,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like a metal guy. I was
Yeah.
like, please change that shit.
Oh, come on, dude! The
No,
pitch mode is the pitch mode,
no,
though.
but wait. But was kind of my best friend, so
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time with him.
Ah.
And after some time, I kind of like it, And then I discovered Ministry and Nine Inch Nails, and they just shut shut my
Yeah.
mouth. And I
Yeah.
fall in love with synthesizer and samplers and electronic music, and say, "Fuck, you can do that with synthesizer." It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that kind of was my switch. It's not like I was listening just metal, and then I was just listening electronic music. Was like I was listening to metal. I kind of get tired, because I don't know if, especially in the 90s or 2000, there was a lot of bands that were kind of sounding the same, especially in the death metal.
Yeah.
Like everyone was trying to sound like Morbid Angel, or so I was kind of tired.
Which, to
And
be
then
fair, was okay in my book, though. You
yeah,
know, I think Behemoth even did it at some point. Like, they had an era that was kind of Morbid Angel-ish.
yeah.
And
So
yeah.
for me, it was really refreshing to discover all the industrial scene and electronic music, and that really can make me want to, like, I think the same as you, combine but words, but words.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but no, that's great. And I'm kind of happy that these days people are, especially young generations, are more open to mix stuff, because I believe I don't know, the last past years, the especially the electronic scene was so sectarian. Like I listen only drum and bass,
It's
and
still kind of is. I mean, there's a bit
yeah,
of
yeah,
everything, you know.
yeah. But I think people are experimenting more. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, the way I see it is this, man. You know, trends come and go, and it depends on who's driving the trend, who's able to put enough money to push a
Sure,
specific sound. I mean, I can guarantee you, if I had right now $5 million, like everybody in the whole planet would be into electronic music and metal. Like if you put that much money into
yeah,
advertising and publicity and all this stuff and getting artists to create this sound and push it and put
mm,
it together, people eventually, like, that's what they will listen to and that's what they will play. It's all about that, you know. And you
sure,
there's some eventually, obviously, when you don't have that kind of money,
mm,
then
sure,
you can only count on people following the trend, and then it
mm.
takes producers. um I'm actually planning on doing something like that. Sadly, as I said, there's no 5 million. But I am planning on creating at some point. It's a plan I've had for a long time. I just haven't. I don't want to put it in motion until everything is right, but it's getting close. Like, I don't want to just do a half-ass label or anything, but I am creating a label that will specifically cater to this sound, drum and bass and metal. And my goal is to get people like you, people like Counter-Strike back into it, and also get producers who are really well known right now who don't do this sound, but challenge them to do it. You know,
Sure.
I get
No, but
get yeah.
sometimes I don't know if it happened to you, but I meet with some very well-known producers of drum and bass. They are really fan of metal, but they don't do it because they are scared that people will not gonna gonna listen. For me, it's les faltan cojones.
Eso. Yeah, I don't know what the hell it is, man. You know, freaking. I mean, if you think about it, Pendulum set pretty much the pace for all that sound. You
Yeah,
remember that collaboration they did with In Flames, and I remember
yeah,
talking to
it
Paul.
was really
Yeah, it was a great
very
track, and
heavy.
I remember talking to Paul L. Hornet about it. I was like, dude, you should do more of this. Like, this is it. This is perfect. And he said, you know, well, everybody is scared of it when we play it. I'm like, so what? Fucking keep playing it until they're
You're a
not. They
fucking
get
pendulum. People
like
will
that.
dance it.
That is the point of metal. It's supposed to scare people. As a matter of fact, this is exactly what I felt when I started listening to metal. I felt scared, and I liked it. Like, people don't go to a fucking roller coaster to relax. You know what I mean? They
Sure,
love that thrill. They love the scare, and it's like, ah! And then when it's done, like, whoa, the rush, the adrenaline, the energy. That's
sure.
it gets to you, man. You know, it's all about that, and I feel this is something that is missing somehow. I'm very picky with drum and bass these days. There's a lot of great tracks coming out, of course, and I'm so
Mm,
blessed and happy for all the promos my
yeah,
friends are sending me. But I'm starting to see this. Like, I'm not, as I said, to each their own. But there's this new wave of what they call deep drum and bass, or rollers, or whatever it is they call it now. I mean, that used to be something else back in the day. Uh,
yeah.
but I can't fucking dance to that. It doesn't make me move. There's just ka, 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 ka. There's no fucking kicks in it anymore. You know, where's the drums, where the percussion, the cymbals, the freaking the stuff that makes you want to shake your ass, you
Well,
know,
that was
and
a
bang your
perfect
head.
impression. It's
It's how it sounds like.
like a sound alarm.
It sounds like Chewbacca.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I can, you know, and I see a lot of people who dig it, actually, and as
Yeah,
I said,
people lose their shit. It's like, whoa. It's
I don't understand. I don't understand. It's not there's no it's nothing interesting for me in it anymore. Like,
yeah.
the best example for me is like one of the heavier tracks that I've heard in this style is that Noisia remix of Hold Your Color, which I still think it's cool, but everything that Noisia makes is amazing. I actually think one of the dumbest decisions in the history of drum and bass is Noisia quitting, and I keep repeating this in hopes that maybe one of them will hear it and be pissed off and realize that I'm right, because you can't be fucking Noisia and quit. You don't get the luxury of quitting after you become Noisia. Yeah, I don't care what you do next, but you can't quit. It's almost irresponsible, I think, for the scene, for themselves.
I really didn't understand
I don't fucking get it.
Maybe something, I don't know. Maybe they don't get along anymore.
Yeah, but still, you don't get along, and then you're like, okay, well, for example, like let's put this scenario. Of course, I mean, I don't know them that well, so obviously there might be something going on we don't know. But what if, as they were mentioning, the three of them want to take different directions? Fair enough. Make a triple album, and then each of them makes an album based on whatever they believe themselves should be the sound of Noisia. You have three different visions, and you put it together in an album, and you have a triple CD, or like 30 tracks, 40 tracks, which all sound different, but they all fall under the same brand. I remember they saying something like, an artist should know when a painting is finished. So, well, Noisia is not the painting. Noisia is the signature. It's like Picasso saying, I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna keep painting, but I'm gonna call myself I don't know, Rodriguez. Juanito or something. Like, no, you cannot lose the Picasso, because it's the signature. And he changed his style freely throughout the ages. Some eras were more popular, some eras were less popular. What is the problem? There's no. It happens to everybody. Metallica had also different phases, some better, some worse, but all the better, they are extremely successful.
Yeah.
So
no, I completely agree.
Yeah.
But it was funny, your impression. And what do you think about Jump Up?
I love Jump Up, the early stuff. Like DJ Hazard, Clips, well, I used to hate Clips, but now I realize how awesome it is because of all this minimalistic stuff that's happening right now. But the original old school Jump Up, I thought was great. I had much more energy. Maybe I wasn't a big fan of the wah 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 stuff, but it had a lot more energy to it. Like, it was dance music. It was about making you jump and dance, and it was aggressive. I don't know. I thought that was so much more interesting. Actually, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm getting old, but I miss all that stuff. It's again with the example of Noisia. I am a bigger fan of their earlier stuff as well. I think those guys pretty much shape. Well, I'm not gonna say shape, because if you go back, if you push it back enough, you realize that Ed Rush and Optical Bacteria, for example, that was the original sound that people called neurofunk back then. But Noisia pretty much solidified that style and that name, and it became something different now. But
and they set the bar so fucking high.
Everybody was going crazy about their drums. It was either about you have pendulum drums or Noisia drums. That was the thing. I think I went with pendulum drums myself. I don't know. I like the that really big hit in the low end, which I'm not able to give it up. Actually, I need it. It's something that I want, a snare that hits me in the chest. That's why I don't get this pitched up stuff. I don't know.
No, it's but it's the same for me. And you were, well, I'm sure, and you had very you speak a lot that where you come from. You never forgot where you come from, that Venezuela.
Sí. Por supuesto.
How was the time making music in Venezuela? It was difficult. It was, I don't know, because I don't know how is the scene there.
We had an amazing scene, actually. We had a lot of people who were, a lot of crews who were making really big parties. As a matter of fact, back in the day, we had, the problem was mostly the productions, of course. And we still had some people who managed to get some stuff released out there, but most people quit. I guess they moved on to different things, and I was
Yeah.
just that kid that never lost a dream, and I was just like, I have to live off this. And well, these days, drum and bass is not my only source of income, but music is.
Mm.
And I'm glad that I switched gears and I started doing productions, because if not, right now I will be asking for donations. And I think there's no shame in that, by the way. I'm just saying
Sure.
that it's such a sad time for me to see people that I look up to, that I know, that are very, very important in the scene, that
Mm.
usually make great money, and now everybody's fucked because, well, most of the income depends on the shows. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't because I started doing commissioned remixes and mix and mastering jobs, I'll be probably in the exact same situation, because half of my income is gone from this year.
Sure.
So it is what it is. It's a sad time. But in Venezuela, at least, we did have a lot of crews. We had people who were making some really interesting productions. There was a liquid funk producer called Turtled, as in inside a turtle shell or something. It was a really cool name. He had this image with like marine turtles and sea turtles, I mean, and it was such a nice concept to me. The music was great. It was liquid funk. It made you feel like you were, snorkeling and looking at corals and something like that. It
That's
kind of
great.
sounded like that. And I thought it was great music. I don't know, man. As I said, I've been a lover of good music.
Mm.
There was also Carl Mathis. Was a guy from Caracas. It was also making liquid funk. Um, that was mostly the thing, though.
Sure.
People were trying too much to do this, like the heavier stuff. I was the only crazy guy who was trying to push heavy productions,
At
and
one time,
as
you opened for a black metal band,
for
if
Dimmy
I remember,
Borgir in
for
Caracas.
even more. What the fuck?
I
Explain that.
know, I know, right? Well, okay. I actually,
But I think it's great, by the way.
yeah, I know, I know. It was a very interesting thing. Actually, um, it's really weird, no, because I know this is a very polarizing topic with the whole government thing, left wing, right wing, blah 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 blah. For better or worse, Chavez was a very polarizing figure. He did a lot of terrible things, a lot of great things, depending on how you look at it. And
Mm.
that's it. It doesn't matter what you say. You keep fighting. He was shit. He was great. Shut up. Or he was shit. He did great
Maybe
things
it
and terrible
depends.
things.
Do,
Period.
do, do you
You know.
think it depends also uh, your position in society? Like if you came from a wealthy family or a poor family, it affects you
Um,
differently.
I forced myself to have limitations because my family was, I'm not gonna say super wealthy, but they had a very comfortable life. Very
Okay.
comfortable life, and I got shit for money for my music projects. That was just like crazy thing. I was supposed to go to school and finish it, university, and I was trying to do that on the side to keep my parents happy, but I never got a single cent for as a support for this. I think once gave me one ticket to Europe, and then I came to Europe the first time, and an unofficial tour, sorts of saved money, brought money back home to pay for the next ticket for the next show, for the next tour, and then on the next tour I saved a little more, and so on and so forth, and then I just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept working
Sure.
on the scene here, and started meeting all the people that I admired, that I would talk
Sure.
about in school,
Mm.
like
No,
Counter
but
Strike, for example,
yeah, no,
and
but my point was like, is Chavez polarizing because I
no,
don't
man.
know.
The reason he's polarizing, the thing is, a lot of people see him as a hero, but
Yeah.
he was pretty much like Simon Bolivar, like he was very, in a lot of things, he wanted to fight for ideals and create all this great things and people for themselves, but at the same time, he was very fucking ruthless. Like this is not a lie. If you look at the
Sure.
videos from the protests against Nicolas Maduro, they look exactly like the videos from the protests in Chile. And
Yeah.
so this is, to me, is unfair, regardless of the fact that it comes from left wing, right wing governments. This is
Sure.
exactly why I got out of this whole left right game, because I fucking hate it. Because they
Mm.
will use that as an excuse to justify anything. It's a religion, man. It literally is an ideological religion, like just as the same like Christians in the 1500s justified that killing and burning all these witches was the good thing to do because they were the devil and we have to rid the world of evil, so we burn all the witches and then evil is gone. And that's not what happened. So the left wing wants to get rid of the corporations and fight against the media, and they are just, it's all lies and shit. And then the right wing wants to fight against the evil communists and anarchists, and then they go out in the street and they protest, and then a black guy dies, and then everybody goes to riot, and then it never fucking stops, man. And this stuff, like, I am very conflict averse. I'm not able to see this shit. Like what happened right now in the USA, it's fucking tragic. That's terrible. That guy, the cop who had the fucking knee on top of that guy, that dude deserves to be in prison for the rest of his life. That was terrible, dude. That should send a message. But at the same time, then this is also sending, the fact that this video became public, it sure is waking people up. But at the same time, it just pisses off so many people that people take the anger to the streets and they have every right to do so. But then there's more consequences to that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then at some point the government says, okay, we have to stop all these people because they are looting all the time and they won't stop. So they fight back. And now it's the cops again being the bad guys. And now it's like all this stuff is explained in a book called The Lucifer Effect. It's based on an experiment that happened in the Stanford prison, where they took 30 students and they told 15 of them, you're going to be the cops, and the other 15, you're going to be the prisoners. And they put them all in the prison, which was open.
Is amazing.
Everything that happens in that experiment explains what's happening right now. As long as there's crime, there will be police, and as long as there's police, there will be police brutality, because they're both, it all stems from the same thing. A lot of criminals are former policemen, and a lot of policemen are former criminals. They are both, they have no, how to say, like to be a person, like from the mindset of a criminal. If you're able to point a gun at someone and shoot them in the face and kill them and have no remorse, that is the exact same principle that you find in a policeman that shoots a criminal or puts a knee on top of a guy that he thinks he has the right to put him down, and this guy is criminal, so I'm going to fight him with the full strength of the law and the police, and then he's fucking dead.
Yeah.
Do you think that guy has any remorse?
What you were saying, it was just, he think he have the right to do that.
That's the key thing. They think they have the right,
like,
and then you go
pass.
Exactly, and then you protest in the street, and you think you have the right to destroy all this stuff because of what happened. Then the cops think they have the right to put you down because you're looting everything. But man, this is the thing. At some point, the only, peace is not a goal. It's a way of life. And I'm not a perfect person either. I've had also my moments in life where I've been angry. I've had people beating the crap out of me when I was a kid. I've done the same. I've had people abusing me. I've abused people. It's like, well, I mean, I'm talking emotional kind of, not.
Yes.
Nobody has, thankfully, and I don't mean to mock anybody that has gone through such terrible experiences. But this is something I think everybody should make an effort to understand human nature and human relationships and society and all this stuff, like all these studies. As a matter of fact, to me, this is way more important for basic education than geology, for example. I'm not saying that geology is not interesting. As a matter of fact, I love it. But geology should be more of a how to say, like a doctorate science, so to say, as opposed to a basic subject. I think basic subjects in school, people should look more into spreading these values, because man, there's only one way to keep social peace, and that is to keep social peace, to decide to be peaceful. And Germany was very good at that. That's actually a really interesting thing, because I live in Germany, and Germany taught me something that directly or indirectly, which is the fact that from all the countries that have done terrible things to other territories, even some that still do it to this day, the Spanish, the French, the British, the Russians, the Americans, the Japanese, like all sorts of people that have done terrible fucking things, and nobody has apologized or paid for it. The Dutch, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, when I say the Dutch, I'm not talking about Noisia, for example. I'm talking, this is stuff that happened a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
None of them ever took responsibility for the massacres. You think the Mongolians cared about all the people they killed? Nobody did, except for Germany. Germany was the one country that stood up and said, we fucked up, and we cannot allow this shit ever again. You know, ever again. So they go out of their way to avoid this kind of stuff. That's why social peace is such an important value in the German society. And like people they completely avoid conflicts. Like, there's a really funny, I don't know where I found it. I think, I'm not sure if it was a book, a paragraph somewhere, something that was basically comparing Spanish and German culture. You know, we as citizens of Latin America, we are very influenced by Spanish culture. So they gave a scenario as an example. Two Spanish neighbors sharing a fence. Like, one of the neighbors puts a fence right in between the houses. I don't know, in the garden. He liked this fence, and then the other neighbor doesn't like the fence because, I don't know, it looks like shit from his perspective. And then it's like, man, but I like this fence, and I put the fence, and it helps both of us. Yeah, but I don't like this fence, and you didn't ask me to put this. Like, you didn't talk to me. I'm like, well, I paid for it. Like, do you want to pay for half of it? No, because you didn't. Blah blah blah. And then they start a fight. So the neighbor that doesn't like the fence burns the fence down, and then the conversation starts. Then the negotiation starts when the fence is burnt down. In Germany, the point where the fence is burnt down, there's no return. There's no return. They'll be patient, they'll be nice, they'll be helpful. The second you cross a line, that's it. No help, nothing. Just they treat you with silence, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which is
it's like it's like 0-1.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like what happened between. These are still very polarizing subjects, as I said. I also think when it comes to this whole thing with the EU and not, I don't know. I think I'm just an immigrant. I think in some things, I think the EU is good. Apparently, some people think it's not, and fair enough to them. That this is what they have seen.
For me,
and I'm not in their situation.
It isn't.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's a too long subject, but to give you that example of what's happening between, like, for example, the Greek economy, Greece was not favored by the Eurozone. This is the truth. And, apparently Germany was helping Greece or something. I don't know what it is. It was some money that was being funneled into Greece, loaned into Greece. And then, the Greek media started painting Angela Merkel as Hitler, because that's something everybody loves to do. It doesn't matter how long they have spent paying everybody back for the stuff they did. Germans are Nazis because they're Germans, right? So what they did was, okay, is that what you think? No problem. No more funds for you. That's the German way. But it's a very, like, they don't waste time getting angry, getting worked up. Just, okay, no more money. Just
no. Yeah, it reminded me one time I was playing a festival in Germany. It's a Gothic Treffen in Leipzig. Well, the organization was awesome. Like, everything was synchronized by the second, like, and all the bands were staying in a very, well, not all the bands, some of the bands were staying in a big, beautiful hotel. And the guys say, okay, guys, tomorrow I will pick you up at 10. So be ready. Okay, no problem. I swear to God, I was there outside like at 10 past 3, like 3 minutes late. And there was no band. There was nothing.
Bro, yeah, this is German time is German. I already got used to it. I'm becoming a little bit too German in that sense. Actually, like, somebody says 10, I say 10. Like, for example, I just told my neighbor I have 45 minutes left. At 10, I am done. He's gonna ring the bell at 10.
Yeah.
you will see that. Like maybe not at 10, maybe a little later, because but his it will be at least around 10. He maybe if he gives me more time is because he knows that maybe I don't know. I want to I need some time to, I don't know, decompress from the interview. I don't know, but it's there's a very high chance he will ring at 22. You know,
of course.
and yeah, this happens all the time. My neighbor the other day, he was taking me to you know, and we have a really awesome community of neighbors. We all help each other. Also, everybody. There's something I love about this place. A lot of people here have very, very different, also very different political views, but everybody is a friend. They don't have this bullshit like I'm left wing and fuck you and I'm right wing. Like no, everybody's a friend. Like my neighbor right here, he's a bit more right leaning, and the other guy here is like pretty much like an anarcho-communist. Before
you can see the contrast between Germany and America.
No, absolutely.
From that side.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. God,
because
I remember I got out of Venezuela because I was sick of the political polarization, and I got out of the country thinking that this is only an evil that happens in Venezuela and nowhere else. And then I went to the USA. Man, I was so fucking sick of it. Like it's crazy, you know, because the truth is I don't care. I don't care.
Sure.
Everybody has the right to believe what they believe, you know, so long you don't hurt me.
Sure.
I know people who would be more than happy to pay high taxes to help the country because maybe they can trust that they have a government that is not, at least not so corrupt, so they will see some of their money back. Like, for example, what happens in Germany. In the USA, people are not very trustful of the government, you know, and they don't want. My manager, for example, like he's just like, what, paying taxes? No, he'd rather have a private insurance and all this stuff. He'd rather donate money to someone who needs it himself. He just because that's all it comes down to. It's people not trusting the governments, you know, because you can say, let's say Donald Trump, right? You know, Donald Trump is another polarizing figure that a lot of people love, a lot of people hate. You know, it depends on where you're watching. Fair enough. Let's suppose that Donald Trump now says that we're going to do, you know, the taxes similar in a similar way that they do it in Germany. Up to 45% of your income, which I think it's a lot, if you ask me, but fair enough. As I said, here, France is another example of a really tax burden nation that even I know it's too much, you know, but let's suppose, okay, you know, this is money that people can see, as in they can see it outside. They see where the money is going. So great, okay. Let's suppose that everybody agrees to that. And then someone like Donald Trump says, okay, I'm going to start charging 45% of taxes. And then you say, I don't trust that.
Sure.
Because Donald Trump is not a person that has these values. You know, he is more of a businessman. So as a businessman, he rather not pay taxes to that because he's got to sort it out a different way, or everything goes private or whatever. Whether that is better or worse, I don't know. I think public education here, for example, in Germany, I haven't been through a German school, but apparently it's great. People here seem to have a very high level of education. In Scandinavian countries is the same. In Venezuela, it was not. In Venezuela, the public education is terrible. And so this is what I'm saying, you know, it's not exactly. It's not a black and white issue. You know, it more than the system matters. It matters more who is behind it. Who's pulling the strings, so to say, who makes the decisions. It's and it's really tough, you know. It's really tough because now we have this other problem, which is democracy, which people think it's democracy is freedom, and and let's all vote for, you know, between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, or Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Like I mean, you know, you see what I'm saying? This is the kind of stuff you see. You're basically voting between, like, what are your real options here? That's not how a country should work, in my opinion. Actually, I'm a.
But the problem is that they have more options. The thing is that finally we create a system that just let you see two options, you know. But
but it's inevitable.
At the end, it narrowed down to that. But because people say, yeah, I can vote. I love that candidate, that alternative candidate, for example. But I can vote for him because he will never gonna get elected. So you see, it's
Yeah.
like you already are
Yeah,
convinced
but
that
but
it
this
will
is
not gonna
but
work.
this is the issue. Like, why do we have to vote them in? Like, are you really going to trust, the decision of who is supposed to run a country to every single person that lives in it? That's
Yeah,
literally
no, that's crazy.
like trusting. Let's suppose we're in a ship, right, with a crew
Yeah,
of 300, and then the captain is a very, very good captain. He knows how to sail, just knows exactly where we have to go to find what we have to do. But maybe the guy is just a piece of shit. Nobody likes the guy
yeah,
because he's angry and whatnot. But he's very focused and taking the ship where it has to go. And then the guys don't like him. It's like, oh yeah, that guy the other day he just told me to shut up. Who the hell does he think he is? So then there's a revolt in the ship, right?
mm,
And they overthrow this guy. And then they say, we're going to vote for the next captain. So who should the next captain be? And then there's this really awesome guy that everybody likes, a drunk guy that tells jokes to everybody. And they just love that guy. Man, I want to be the captain. Yeah, let's vote for him. And then you have a drunk guy who tells great jokes and knows jack shit about how to how do you say, to not to drive a ship, to navigate a ship.
mm. Yeah, sure.
Democracy is
No,
a fucking fallacy, man. This
yeah,
is the truth. I mean, the problem is, of course, that the alternative is fascism.
yeah.
This is so
It's the
it's
less
difficult.
the less
It's
worse
not.
system.
Yeah. So
But
that's why
also the problem is that the president has too much power. You know,
yeah.
because before, I
I like the
remember.
idea of Greek democracy. It was very different, as in people were not just voting for people to do something. Like, everybody was actually involved in politics.
Yeah,
As in promoting laws, and then there was a group of people saying, okay, well, this law is good, this law is not very good, this law is stupid, this law is, let's
yeah.
pass it, let's
It's like
see if this
it's like
helps.
what decades people kind of give away their responsibility. It's like
Yeah.
I will gonna pick that guy and he will
And
make
he's
the
gonna
decisions for
save, and
me.
he's gonna save everything.
Yeah, and
He's
he
gonna
will gonna
fix all
take the
my
decisions
problems.
for me.
Yeah, man.
It will be so cool. I will not
Yeah,
gonna have to
it,
think about it.
it's like a messiah culture, so sort of say.
Yeah,
There's always that thing, like, I'm going to vote for this guy, he's going to be the savior. I've seen it with Donald Trump, I saw it with Hugo Chavez, I saw it with
yeah,
what was the other, what happened with Brexit. I think it was also like pretty much a sensationalized like that.
yeah.
And but they do it all the other way as well. Like Obama, for example, he was also, it was
Hope.
about change, it was about hope. And everybody looks at him because he's such a well-mannered, nice guy. It's just that I would love to hug him and give him a shake his hand and I don't know, have a beer with the guy. He just looks like that kind of guy. Well, he
Yeah,
also sent a bunch of American Marines to lay war in the Middle East, but people don't
yeah.
talk about that.
Drones.
It's what I'm saying. The
He was like the
drones.
drones president. He would he would know for
It,
that.
it
Well,
is
like
what
what
I'm
the fuck?
saying. Is what I'm saying. So you start romanticizing all these figures
Yeah,
because now you have this guy who's also doing a bunch of bad stuff, and then, oh, this guy was better, and then you create that cult of personality. So it's not about who is the best guy for the job. It's about who is the most popular. And between there's a video on YouTube about this, like why, for example, why Socrates believed that democracy was a fallacy and was very worried with the idea of it. Um, People, the general public, would have an easier time voting a Candyman in than
mm,
voting a doctor, because a doctor hurts you and gives you medicines that taste like shit. And then all it takes for the Candyman is to say, I'm going to give everybody free candy.
sure.
No, and then the other guy, no, this candy's gonna kill you. It's like, no, it's just true. This guy's just lying. He just wants to chop your legs, and I don't know, and how do you call these things, like uh, inject whatever. Like,
Yeah,
it's really easy
yeah.
to
No, I'm more a fan of a direct democracy. You know, now we
yeah.
have the technology to do it. For example, if there's important decisions in the country that it will affect everyone, like for example, I don't know, go to war. You know, you can do it.
I think it would be great, actually, if they asked everybody these questions. Should we go to war? I bet you the
You
vast
know,
majority of people would say no.
Imagine
But
you pick your
what
phone.
happens if they say
No.
yes? You know, what happens if
Well,
you
you have
brainwash
to
them
assume
long
the shit.
enough to say yes? You know?
Yeah, yeah, but it's
It's
still better that some guy just say, yeah, okay, that guy pissed me off. So we all millions of people will go to war.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
one
there
guy.
you go. Exactly. That should be great. You know, it's like, should we go to war? Yes. Okay. You need to get no. I mean, you guys go to war. I'm not. I'm gonna be home. So you said you wanted to go to war. That would be great. Like if you vote yes to war, then you have to enlist and
Yes.
go there and die in the fields if that's what you
Oh,
really
that
want to
would be
do.
great. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Hey, we just
We
figured out how
we
to
found
solve.
the solution.
There you go.
That's great.
Yeah, man. You know, these topics are endless. I mean, I'm not
Yes.
sorry. I'm not able to look at the comment section at this point. I think most people will hate me because that's usually my problem. Because I analyze everything from a very centric point of view. Then I get everybody to hate me, and I don't care.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm sure you have something to do with your who is a neighbor? Is a friend of yours who came right before the guy that knocked
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. He just wanted to have a smoke, I guess. But
Okay.
he's a really cool friend of mine. He's also like he's drumming and he plays guitar. He's starting to make some beats. He sometimes asks for advice, and well, I'm trying to give him the best advice that I can, which is don't make shit music.
Yeah.
That's more
Also,
important than anything.
so I really thank you for taking the time to do this, and I would like to, because we know these are special times during, with the pandemic is not every day.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
but on the good side, now you are more open to work in several projects.
Yeah.
Before going on tour and playing all the time, sometimes you don't
I
have the time.
got too much free time on my hands, to be fair, more than
So
I'd like. But
so it will be great if you can invite people that are interesting. I don't know if they are interested that you make a remix for them, or mixing or
yeah,
mastering. How they can contact you? I don't know.
yeah. I mean, if anybody,
For the right price.
yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, as you said, the right price. The right price means something that is fair for everybody, but
Yeah.
obviously it's not free. Like a lot of people think this is stuff
Yeah.
that costs, I don't know, 20 euros or dollars.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of weird when people say, "Hey, can you do a remix?" Well,
Yeah. And
yeah, of
here's
course.
I got 50 euros for you. Like I used to do that stuff, but I can remember there was a label that bought
Sure,
2 tracks of mine and they paid me $50. Back then I was in Venezuela, I didn't know better, and with
sure,
$50 in Venezuela you can do a lot. But that was like such a fucking straight up scam, man. Like that's insulting.
sure.
It's not worth anyone's time. So I had a dude commenting on one of my YouTube videos saying, "Hey, would you be happy to do a soundtrack for an indie video game? We don't really have money, but you would get a lot of exposure." And I told him, if exposure paid for my rent, the aid that I have to send my mom who's still in Venezuela, the electricity, the new gear that I have to update in the studio, I don't know, a bed, food, all this stuff, and maybe a beer every now and then. Yeah, sure, be happy to do that.
Let's
It
do
would be
it.
great.
Exposure.
But exposure doesn't pay the fucking rent, bro. And at some
Yeah,
point you have to. You can't let that happen. You can't allow that to happen.
yeah, of course.
Uh,
I totally agree.
yeah,
So, well, I really thank you for this. Muchas gracias.
claro que sí, hermanito, cuando quieras.
Maybe next time we will do it on Spanish.
Yeah, we have to do another one in Spanish. Pendiente hacer un en español para nuestra gente de Latinoamérica.
Pero claro.
Abrazos, Iván. Thank you everybody for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.